Forget the time. Light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie. Minimize software won't distract you. Brake reminder and force brake help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force brake activates to rest your eyes. I care you. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie. Minimize software won't distract you. Brake reminder and force brake help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force brake activates to rest your eyes. I care you. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light Reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Break Reminder and Force Break help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force Break activates to rest your eyes. Eye Care U. Safeguard your eyes.
Global Season 2. My name is Reed. I'm here with Brad. Brad's this way because anyway, and we're back for another day of racing action. We've got Supercars on Sandown, classic Australian cars on an Australian track. And then we're doing the same thing. We're mixing it up with Japanese cars on a Japanese track coming up later on with Toyota GR86s on Tsukuba. So what do you think of what's coming up today, Brad?
Yeah, good evening, Reed, or good morning, good afternoon. I guess it depends on where in the world you're at. Supercars at Sandown. That is a track and car combo that I can't say I have a lot of experience with personally. So it's going to be really fun to kind of watch that unique challenge come out of a Australian supercar, which I know is super powerful. I know there's a lot to it. And then see them throw it on a classic Australian track. The race later is going to be fun, but this race right here at Sandown, here kicking off race 21 in the free tier, Reed, I think it's going to be a good time for us.
Yeah, I got a lot to talk about this. I actually have quite a few friends in Australia. They were telling me, okay, what's going on with Australian racing? It's definitely seen its peak in the past, but that doesn't mean there's not still a lot of excitement to cover here as we get into the races today. And as we get into the races today, I just want to run you down some data. Well, not you, Brad. You probably already know this stuff. But for everybody else out there, if you guys want to be a part of AMX Season 2, we've got a lot of money on the line, and here's how it breaks down. We got free races. We got paid Tier 1 races and paid Tier 2, which are $5 and $20 entry fees, respectively. You can win your share of 50, so that's minimum payout. Sorry, I got to read this too, guys. $30 prize pool for the free tiers, $134 prize pool for the paid Tier 1, and $506 prize pool for paid Tier 2. So some big money, and of course over $16,000 on the line in season 2. Hour and 20-minute practice, 10-minute qualifiers, and a race about 20 minutes. Of course, you can sign up for all of this and more. Actually, mostly just all of this at amxrace.com. So head on over there if you too would like to join us here today. And here is when you can join us. We have 4 race days a week with 2 races every day, which totals up to a number. I would know if I could do math. Today is the 13th, depending on where you are. It's the 14th right here for me down in South Korea. But for wherever you are, for EDT, this is what it looks like. And of course, we've got 2 more race days left, actually a little bit more, and then we'll be moving on into June. So not that much left. We are well and truly close to the midpoint of season 2. And here's a look at the who's who, the rogues gallery of AMX season 2. Some of these guys, Brad, I dare say, are fairly good at driving cars very, very quickly.
Yeah, driving cars very quickly, I would say, for some of those win rates that I'm looking at and some of those total earnings is probably a specialty. But of course, the more races you attend, the more money you can win. And I think Kyle Gaspar has that under his belt. But Gaio Valero and Quentin Gunez with some obnoxious win rates, Reed.
No, I mean, look at that. Okay, and here's truly the unstoppable force and the immovable object. 69% win rate for Gaio Valero, 63% for Quentin Gunez. So, like, if they both enter, what happened? Well, we might get a chance to find out. I don't know. But if we do have them racing today, then that will, I guess we'll get a chance to check that out. And obviously, that's total prize points, so it's not necessarily via each one of our tiers. So this is the breakdown for the free tier. And that means that if you enter, it costs you no money. You can win up to 11 points or dollars. They are 1-to-1. Because we have 3 points for the fastest lap. But even if you aren't in pole position, even if you're not at the front of the pack, even if you're not going to win the race, you can still pick up 3 extra points by just being the fastest, which I feel like is very consistent with the idea of racing. If you are good enough, if you are fast enough, then you can win a lot of money. Still true here in AMX Season 2. This is a free race, and this is the free tier standings. We just saw a look at the cumulative standings. These are the ones for the free tier. You can see it looks vaguely similar. The Victor Miranda way up at the top at $70 already for nothing. 8-0 gets 72. Sounds good to me. 14 Guinness, Caio Gaspar, and the usual suspects down below. And that means that I believe we are ready to talk about our track. Brad, what do you think of when you think of the home of horsepower?
So, home of horsepower, if I could talk, is going to be a lot of different things. Listen, it's Saturday night. Give me a break. So, opened in 1962, Sandown International Raceway. It's really brought in a lot of Australian motor racing. It is known as the home of horsepower because the big thing in Australia is you're looking at supercars. And supercars, Holden and Ford Mustang are the 2 cars that everyone thinks of when you look at this track, you look at Australian motorsports, and it's just 5-liter V8s going as fast as they can, hosting multi-hour races, and just absolutely going to town. It is always a fun time. Of course, Australia tracks, there's a lot of different ones that people think of, but really, Sandown makes a big splash in Australian motorsport, and you really don't want to discount it when you're looking at your Australian track maps.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned we're racing supercars. Now, what makes a car super, Brad? Is it just its personality?
Big thing that makes a car a supercar is going to be that it's an Australian base model that's just upped. 5-liter V8 engines, of course, the Holden Commodore and the Ford Mustang are the 2 supercars that existed before. There is now a Nissan version as well that exists. V8 engines, over 600 horsepower. It's really just designed to be a super fun car. You can think of cup cars in a way, and then Australians just kind of took it, they looked at it and they said, nah, we do this different down under, and decided to make their own spin on GT cars or, GT3, GT2 cars, and just looked at it and said, nah, we can do this better. Take a big muscle car, throw a good body kit on it, and then just send it as fast as you can. You're going to have some moments like that, like we're looking at, which car is that? I can't tell who that is, but hey, it's the fun with the Supercars is they're very muscle car-esque, but they're still nimble enough to get around a track like this. Australians just do motorsports different, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, speaking of Australians doing motorsports different, Brett, if you had to tell me what the pavement, the surface of this track is paved with, what would you say?
Honestly, I don't know. That's one of those things that I have to kind of look into the track info and look at some different stuff. I know that I don't know.
Oh, sorry, I interrupted you again. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm just saying I don't know. It looks like it's concrete, but I'm not sure.
Right. So there's a lot of things that you can pave it with, right? You can pave it with concrete. There's dirt tracks out there, and interestingly enough, there are also some asphalt tracks. However, did you realize, Brad, and everybody else out there, that asphalt is the U.S. name for the pavement? Originally, Sandown started out as an asphalt track, but in Australia, they call asphalt a bitumen or bitumen. I saw that. I'm like, they paved it with bitumen. Is that like bitumen? Is that vitamin? I don't know. It's actually just asphalt. And then, of course, they were able to update that a little bit. We'll have more history lessons. But let's talk about the promo you got on your screen today. Would you like to win double money? The answer is yes. Then you can play the next 2 weeks. Come on out to AMX Season 2, and we are doubling the prize pool for our free tier races. That means that if you pay nothing, you used to win a maximum of $11. Now, we're raising that all the way up to first place, just getting a cool 14. We still have that fastest lap prize as well. Plus, the prizes extend all the way down to 10th place. You're even more likely to win money, unless somehow, if you have 5 or 6 racers, you manage to place 11th. Almost more impressive if you do it that way. But we are doubling the prize pools for our free tier races. So you have no reason not to come out here and win all those points, I'm supposed to say. But yeah, there's a lot on the line. And so we're excited to be running that promotion. So hopefully you guys can come out here. And it's totally free. So just get the car, get the track, and get some points in AMX Season 2. So looks like we got Manuel Scoli back for the second time. Nice to see him out here today. Kyle Gaspar, Fabio Zamperlini, and Diego Villarreal will be our racers for our first race of the day here on Sandown.
Manuel Scoli showing up here early on. I guess the Holden is a car that he likes as he sets up in practice the fastest time so far against some of our names here in AMX that we know very well. And now it's going to be a case of just kind of watching as the drivers work around this 13-corner track and just see where they can kind of land things, what they can do. I'm kind of interested to see. Oh, I thought he had a bit of damage there, but it looks like Zamperlini not. A little bit of net code. But it's interesting, too, because the fun thing with running the Supercars is you have the choice between the Holden or between a Ford Mustang, and I'm curious to see which drivers have picked which car. Not necessarily a big running difference between the two cars. They handle very similarly because, of course, the Supercars are a spec series that has to abide by certain regulations. But I am curious to see which drivers have which supercar out and then why they have which supercar out.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Obviously, there is a little bit of BOP involved, but I'm not sure what the subtle nuances are. That's why we need to get some interviews out here to ask these guys, okay, why are you picking what you're picking? Because I also want to know that, so that when I pick, so that I can pick the one that's right for me, and therefore have less excuses when I do terribly handling all this horsepower. We are here on the home of horsepower with a ton of horsepower in these 5-liter V8s, and that means that we are going to have some relatively fast races. And it's not just fast because our racers are fast or because the cars are fast, because this track is crazy. This is very much, I guess what you would call I don't know, it's power circuit. You got straightaways on the front, on the back, side to side. There's just straight portions everywhere. It's like you're racing around some sort of like trapezoidal, like not cube, maybe like a pentagon or something like that. Big straightaways in the front and back. You're going to see some crazy top speed, a lot of horsepower. Here will be brought to bear. It's going to be a very, very exciting race with times expected to be around the 1 minute mark, if I'm not mistaken, for supercars. We have times around 1:05. So if you're seeing anything less than that, those are some pretty good times. We already have a 1:07 put up there by Caio Gaspar, so he's right on track.
Yeah, Gaspar set the pace out early there, and it's interesting to me. Usually what we see the drivers do here in qualifying is they just go out and they run lap after lap after lap. That's what we usually see in our qualifying sessions, and I'm noticing every single driver is on a secondary outlap. So they're all going out, they're putting in that outlap, they're doing a push lap, they're resetting back to the pit, and then they're going back and pushing again. So they're really trying to push the envelope for what they can do through these sessions. As we see here, this is Fabio Zamperlini, and Zamperlini, a gorgeous white and purple liveried Holden. Beautiful car. Coming down through the main stretch right now. And is he going to improve any? Oh, wait, he's on his outlap. Never mind. Ignore what I just said. And deep braking here into turn one. Turn one's a left-hander. You ride the curb on the outside. You're going to hit turn 2 and 3 chicane here, which is a little bit off camber. So bump there, hold on to it. Try not to go into the guardrail. Hard left-hander for turn 4. And now it's one of those long straightaways that you talked about, Reed. It's flat down through, little bit of a right-hand kink here. Just kind of ride it through and then just flat out towards turn 6, 7, 8. Just again, a little bit of an S's chicane section. And then it's a hard 90-degree left-hander. And then a flat-out section again. So here's that chicane section, turn 6, 7, 8. And again, kind of just aiming for the curves, letting the car bounce through. Hard left-hander, turn 9. Again, you're just looking to cut that corner as best you can. Slight right-hander there for turn 10, and now it's just flat through. Chicane here for turns 11, 12. And now it is flat through. Pit entrance is right on the right out of 12, or you go through here, turn 13, flat to the line. Fabio Zamperlini, a 108.0. We improved a little bit. He's 5/100ths of a second off of Manuel Scoli. But Manuel Scoli, I bet, has a bit more to give there. And then Caio Gaspar, I think, still has a little bit in the tank as well. Diego Villarreal hasn't put in a time yet, but I would guess that Diego is going to be getting us a time very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And these times are pretty good. So I can't complain yet. Not that I would. These guys are still going to be incredible no matter what times they are putting up. Just for comparison, I believe for Supercars on Sandown, so the record for Supercars was set by Shane Van Gisbergen back in 2019 on this track, and he came in at a time of 1:08.2. So already seeing some faster times here, and there are maybe a few less considerations because we are doing this virtually, but it is he's still pretty good. We got some 108s, we got some 107s up there. Manuel Scoli, kind of the new guy out here, is the only one running the Ford Supercar, so we'll see if maybe that gives him an advantage, or maybe he's just a better racer. We'll find out as he is out there. Also, I do just want to point out that we do have Diego Villarreal qualifying, which is always fun to talk about.
You know, I hadn't noticed it till you said it.
Just for context, is somewhat of a rarity. That's fair to say, Brad?
Rarity is putting it nicely. I would say we never see it would be a good way to phrase it.
Yeah, I mean, I think have I seen it once before? I don't know, it's just been a cool minute. We are almost through our time here qualifying, so looks like Manuel Scoli is 0.003 thousandths of a second off pole position. So that's not bad. You might want to try to just squeeze a little bit of extra gas out there and go for a top spot. he is having a hot day, then he can absolutely go back out there and get it. But obviously, Kyle Gaspar is seeing this and might try to improve his own time a little bit as our racers are heading into the pits and then coming back, maybe looking for one or two final laps to get some of those qualifying times.
Yeah, just a little bit of time left, and it looks like everyone's kind of partnering up. When you look at the track map there, you've got Manuel Scully and Fabio Zamperlini that are fairly close together here as we run through. And I like Manuel Scully being in the Mustang, and that might be my American coming out a little bit, saying that I like him in the Mustang, but hey, here I am. So we're in the dying stages here. 3 drivers on outlaps. So Villarreal is not going to put in another time, but what that means is Manuel Scully has one shot to find 3 milliseconds to try to get ahead of Kyle Gaspar. And right now, Manuel Scully's got Fabio Zamperlini tagging there with him, and Kyle Gaspar is kind of out on his own. So at this point, it's a 2v1 situation. And if you're not in racing, but you're in any other like video game setting, a 2v1 is bad. However, I still think Kyle Gaspar has more time to find in the belt. I think he's going to pull out a little bit more time here in this final lap. So Manuel Scully is going to have to put in a very good time. And as we're riding on board with him here, ramping the curb very well, doing very good there through the turns to not really lose a lot of time. And you can see he's really holding on to it. Maybe a slight error there out of turn 4, but overall, seems like he's holding on. He's still down in the first sector of the track, though, so I don't see any improvements coming his way. Fabio Zamperlini down in the first sector as well. Scully's down second sector now, which is just along the backstretch. Kyle Gaspar also not improving. So as we come up on what will be the checkered flag here, I don't think any of these drivers are really going to improve their times like we thought they would.
You know, there's always that air of mystery, Brad. This is something I remember thinking as a kid when I was watching like my first few NASCAR races. I was thinking to myself, okay, well, maybe they'll just be faster this time. And while a lot of that is wishful thinking, the hard truth is that like your car can only go so fast. So when you need to make up a second, there's some empirical forces that set in, and can you or can't you? You may want to, you may have the heart of the cards here, but unfortunately, the heart of the car is the engine, and it only pounds those pistons so hard. And though, notwithstanding this being the home of horsepower, there are some physical rules. So unfortunately, there's no too fast, too furious NOS button for us to hit to magically get that extra speed.
Yeah. iRacing hasn't implemented that. I'm sure it's something in the cards that they're working on in the future, but as of right now, there's no magical NOS button that we can use like there is in Assetto Corsa or BeamNG. You can just magically run in with some NOS and just go through. But one of the things that the drivers do have to their advantage is the iRacing physics. They don't necessarily have to worry about when they run through, you don't have to consider track temp, you do consider tire temps, but you don't have to consider track temps, wind, sun, clouds, all of those different things. And that's why, you mentioned the real life record is a 108.2, I believe. But right. That is why we see the lap times in iRacing typically half a second, 3/4 of a second, sometimes a second faster depending on what's going on, just because the drivers don't have all those different things to consider. And honestly, a 107.6 from Kyle Gaspar is a really good time. I say this every time we watch a qualifying session, but if Kyle Gaspar can get away through the first couple of turns really well, Manuel Scully might have a hard time catching up with him, and then it's just going to be a matter of consistency for all of these drivers.
Yeah, it's actually something really interesting to talk about, Brad. Maybe we can delve into this more as the race goes on. We're setting up on the grid for the beginning of this race, but just, okay, maybe I'll save this point until we actually start. Everybody's out there and ready to go, and so we should be able to get this underway. It's just so weird to see a qualifying time there for Diego Villarreal. It is still at the bottom, so, all things as they should be, or as they have been, rather. It's Kyle Gaspar in that pole position. Manuel Scully just barely off by 0.003 of a second. So potentially having been robbed, but we're doing a rolling start with the pace car up in front, and I'm not sure exactly where they are or exactly how long a tour we are going to have here before we get things started. But rolling start will mean that we are going to be able to get this underway very, very soon. And I'm actually just really interested to see Holden versus Ford Mustang. That's not the movie that they made, but it's potentially the one that we're going to be able to make today. See exactly which one comes out on top. And away we go. Race is underway. Pace car is out of there. We are heading across the finish line to get it started.
Yeah, everyone gets away well there. As predicted, Kyle Gaspar gets away very well. Manuel Scully up the inside there. Fabio Zanfellini. Manuel Scully, of course, starting P2, defending the P2 well. Diego Villarreal back there in fourth place, not losing touch early. And now as we watch as the drivers ramp off those curves and those left-hand, I think that someone is going to lose it. It's going to be in one of those corners. Hopefully nobody loses anything too crazy, as this is going to be a very quick race. Of course, 20 laps here, and as we go down the backstretch here, there's a little bit of swerving again. That is to break the toe, the aerodynamics of the car, trying to not give an advantage to the car behind you of being behind and not having to worry about air. And now we're going to watch this battle between Zanfellini and Scully continue to develop throughout these 20 laps, I'm sure. And then Kyle Gaspar is just going to be watching behind him and kind of hoping that Manuel Scully and Zanfellini take each other out. That way Kyle Gaspar can just run a clean race all the way to the end.
Yeah, speaking of taking each other out, Brad, the thing I wanted to mention, right, we were talking about how, and actually even look at these times, we're setting 103s, 104s. Maybe there is a NOS button I didn't know about, because it was like 108s, 107s during qualifiers. So some very, very fast times here. And while the record in real life is set by Shane Van Gisbergen at 108.2, there are some differences. While iRacing's physics are incredibly accomplished, right? Very, very true to life. I wonder if there's some sort of attitude difference, because at the end of the day, this is a racing simulator. And I think one of the biggest things to overcome when you put a sim racer in a real car is that, like, it's your body, right? When you go in through these curves, when you tap like that, oh my God, a first-person view straight from the cockpit of a little bit of a rough ride on Scully there. He's putting up some good times, but good times may be over.
Yeah, that was, you can see the headlights flashing there from Villarreal. He's kind of flashing at Scully saying, hey, I'm here behind you. But yeah, that was a fatal error there from Zanfellini. I think Zanfellini just braking really aggressive into turn 11, turn 12 there, and just out-braking himself, going right into the back of Scully. And unfortunately, you know, when you're the driver getting hit in the rear, you're a passenger at that point. There's nothing you can do but try to save it and go. The Scully now dropping back into third place, him and Zanfellini swapping, and now it's just a case of them trying to chase each other down. You were mentioning about iRacing and kind of that sim racing mentality, though, and that shows an example of it. And now here we go. This is going to be the sportsmanship between these drivers, and this is something that you would see in real life as well. Because Zanfellini is going to back out of it. He's going to give Scully the position back, and now they're going to go back to battling. And we will watch this battle develop. And that's just good sportsmanship from these drivers. That is, we saw it Tuesday night. And we saw Zanfellini do the same thing. I think he bumped someone. It might have been Zanfellini. And he gave the position back and just said, hey, it was my error. Looking at the AMX replay here, again, we were riding on board for this, but as the drivers came over, it looks like it was a bump on the curbs, tried to get into the brakes. And when the car's upset like that from a bounce, you can't get back into it. Sliding out through, he holds on to it. Manuel Scully came out worse, gets back on track, though. And then again, the sportsmanship there of Zanfellini pulling over on the backstretch, waiting up, giving the position back to Manuel Scully. But of course, now they've given an 8-second advantage to Kyle Gaspar that they're going to have to work together to make up if they want to try to catch Kyle Gaspar in the next 16 laps.
Yeah, and realistically, even with that sportsmanship, it doesn't change the race too much. 8 seconds is a lot. 6 seconds was a lot before. And obviously, Kyle Gaspar is good, so realistically, that would have been a very difficult situation to find yourself. Scully and Zanfellini are going to have the closest battle of this entire. So it's where the action is going to be, and I'm glad that we got a chance to see with sportsmanship that sort of resets the clock and gives these racers an opportunity to compete against each other. And when it comes to that competition, what we start talking about but never finish our thoughts on, Brad, is the differences between, sim racing and the idea of the risk involved, right? If I'm in a sim, I can maybe do this, take a few more. I can recover a little bit faster. I can get back out there. I can be a little bit more fearless. You put yourself in a real car. It's a difference between, going to Fallujah and playing Call of Duty, right? You've got some somewhat different realities to contend with. I always wonder how much that affects our racers, because there are examples of players who are very, very good at sim racing who also carry those skills over to the real life track. But obviously, there are plenty of examples where these guys get out there and they're like, oh, wow, I'm actually feeling everything all at once right now. And that's way different than just, running around the track in a sim with a wheel and some pedals.
Yeah, one of the biggest examples of that kind of transition from sim racing to real life or real life to sim racing, there's two names that come to mind for me. One of them is Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen,
right.
Of course, Formula One world champion, and he does a lot of sim racing. I know right now he has a team that's competing in the Nürburgring 24 hours that's going on right now in iRacing. But he is a big component of sim racing, and he, of course, is an F1 world champion who also runs a ton of iRacing. And he has credited, some track knowledge of different things to working in simulators. I mean, and working in iRacing. There's drivers that do that. Jimmy Johnson, who's an IndyCar champion, or 7-time NASCAR champion, now an IndyCar driver, he runs in iRacing. He runs, in different simulator racing settings at home, because that's how he learns IndyCar. That's how he got comfortable with the idea of how an IndyCar would handle before he got in a real car. Now, of course, sim racing, you don't have to worry about G-forces. You don't have to worry about, being in a 200-degree cockpit. You don't have to worry about, any of the physicalities really that go in to running in a real life car. Now, there are a lot of instances of sim racing techniques being learned and carrying over to real world, though. The biggest example I know of, and that I can think of from the top of my head, is Jimmy Broadbent. Jimmy Broadbent was racing in a shed, literally sim racing in a shed on YouTube for fun, and then got picked up by Praga, went and won Brick Car Championships. Rumor has it he has BMW sponsorships now and different things. He's been a BMW test driver, and Zamperlini's showing off some drifting skills there in case Holden wants to pick him up. So there are many instances of sim world carrying over to real life, and real life drivers showing usefulness of the sim. The thing with the sim is there's just certain things you don't get out, and the mindset is another one. Like, if I wreck in iRacing, I click a button, wait 3 minutes, and go back out on track. If you wreck in the real world, you're going to be bedridden for a week. And we've seen some pretty severe crashes in iRacing happen here at AMX.
Yeah, definitely pros and cons. I would say one of the pros, and I remember watching a video of Max Verstappen talking about this, as opposed to what experience you gain in real life versus what experience you gain in the sim. And essentially what he was saying is that there's no experience like the real experience, but some things you need to learn about a track by racing that track 100 times. And there's no way you're going to get that much actual track time, especially if you're coming up on a new race, right? So you have to hit the simulator, and there's no better way to just get the practice in, checking your brake points, checking exactly how it feels, what it's like to go through there, and not necessarily how to do it the right way, but all the wrong ways you're not supposed to do it. And the only way you get those out of the way is by hitting the racetrack 100 times. And you can't say enough for the work ethic and the practice regimen of these guys. Let's take a look at a quick replay to see exactly what that kind of slip. Oh my God, he's so good at this. He's so good. A little bit of a drift around the corner, and he's right back into it, making it look good.
Yeah, Fabio lost a little bit of time there from that, but, great car control there from Zamperlini coming through, because that was able he was able to save it there in the chicane, keep it out of the wall, because realistically, if he hadn't have caught that, where are you going on the outside edge of turn one? Just straight into one of those red guardrails. And that is not a good time for anyone involved. And there is Diego Villarreal sliding out of the final corner. These curbs are real dangerous, and if you hit them the wrong way, it upsets the car really bad. And unfortunately for Villarreal, currently sitting 15 seconds back from Zamperlini, I think he's learned that a time or two now.
I mean, we talked about the home of horsepower. These top speeds really going to be not only essential to reach for victory, but also making the cars relatively hard to handle. There are 3 very, very rough turns here. I guess maybe 4. Turn 1, 4, 9, and 12 that are just right angles. There's no way to get around those except for proper braking, proper speed control, because you want to you don't want to brake too much, because if you can't hit the apex and come out the other side, you're not going to hit the top speed. You're going to lose out on so much distance, and it's really going to affect your lap time. So let's take a look at that once again, and yeah, just a little bit too far out, hitting the green, doing a little lawnmowering, and then trying to get back onto the track, but really not overcompensating, but having trouble. Yeah, there it is. And would cost him about 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah, he kind of got lucky there again because of the way he hit that curve. If he had just stayed on the grass and it hadn't have caught, and he hadn't have slowed down there on the tarmac, where are you going? You're going into a barrier. That's another fun thing about Sandown is that there's not a lot of room for error. There's a couple spaces of gravel and a couple spaces where you might be okay if you make a mistake. But if Kyle Gaspar makes a mistake right now going into this corner, he's going straight into a barrier and his race day is over. So that's the other fun thing about some of these smaller tracks, and not the big grade 1 FIA circuits. Some of your smaller, more local, more fun tracks, is there's less room for error on those. They're not as forgiving if you make a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. And beyond the tracks not being forgiving, I mean, if there were, you double, triple the number of racers here, you make it a little bit more competitive. You still have to compete against the other racers on the track. And while our racers have kind of found their way back to a little bit of a separation, a little bit of a private space here, it could be a lot closer, and you are absolutely racing against the clock there. See a little bit of a spin out as he comes around the corner again. Yeah, this is pretty much what we've seen time and time again. The corners here are just a little sharp. Now, a better correction than we saw previous, but still the method is the same. You hit one of these like turn 1, turn 4 corners, it's going to be rough to reset, right yourself, get back underway. And by that point in time, especially with all the straightaways that we have here, it just really ruins your top speed.
Yeah, we are lap 12 of 20 now, Reed, and one of the big things we're kind of watching is some of the drivers are starting to settle in a bit more and just sort of relax through. And at this point, I think everyone knows the gaps are there. They kind of understand where they're sitting at. And Villarreal getting a bit too much on the grass there. And we talked about the difference between real life and sim life. In sim life, the grass is the literal version of ice in iRacing. If you get on the grass a little too much, it is just straight up ice. So kudos to Diego Villarreal for saving that somehow, because that was just 1 second you're going straight, and then next second he was about 90 degrees to the left.
Yeah, and that's how quickly it happens, right? Every time we see anybody take a corner now, I'm just going to assume tragedy is going to strike. We've seen it quite a bit, and here it is. Yeah, locking up the wheels a little bit, and then around the corner. That was actually a lot better than I expected it to be. I'm expecting, like I said, just tragedy every 5 seconds now. I'm being conditioned for it. But overall, I would say things still going fairly well. Although, right as I say that, we hit a little bit of grass action here. So, gotta keep an eye on Diego Villarreal. He is having a little bit of a rough day, and that puts him 24 seconds back of his next closest opponent, Zamperlini.
Yeah, Villarreal put in a qualifying time, and I wonder if that just kind of threw off his routine. But, still, as long as he finishes, he's going to earn points here. And that's the good thing, is as long as he, finishes time, and I don't mean to pick on Villarreal, but, as long as he goes through and he finishes the race, he's going to pull up some time. Checking in with Manuel Scully here, making his second debut here with AMX, I believe. This is the second race he's ran. And doing pretty well so far. Gap 7.8 seconds there for that Ford Mustang V8 Supercar against Kyle Gaspar. Kyle Gaspar kind of just cruising through, but the gap staying very consistent for these drivers as well. They're not really slinking around. You don't just see the gap opening lap after lap. Things are kind of very smooth for them and very competitive lap times as well. 108.5 for Gaspar, 108.8 for Scully on that last lap. So they're really holding their own, and when you look at their best times are within half a tenth of each other. So I don't think they're going to catch up to each other unless Gaspar makes an error read, but we might, 6 laps to go, we might be able to see a little something happen, if Gaspar makes an error, and it's not impossible.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's the degree of the error, right? Like that, it would have to be pretty drastic to, for example, get Diego Villarreal back into the race. I mean, the racetrack is only a minute long, give or take. So when you're 30 seconds back, you really have to see some crazy errors. And it's absolutely not out of the cards, but it becomes less and less likely, especially because as you drive the track, right, you get more familiarized with it, and that makes it more comfortable and less likely to have the kind of tragedies that would make it a little bit closer. So the 108's being put up very respectable, but not the fastest laps that we've seen by far. We've seen some 105s earlier, so absolutely some room to have some hot laps and get back underway with a very, very close race. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to take. We were talking about the difference between the Ford car that Scully is running. We're seeing it throughout your stream, and I mean, it's obviously working out quite well for him so far, but maybe not quite as well as he would have liked, considering that in qualifiers he was only 0.003 of a second behind Kyle Gaspar.
Yeah, all the drivers right where they started, and I don't want to say it's predictable because nothing in racing is ever predictable, but kind of shows consistency throughout these 4 drivers and being able to, just kind of settle in and put in laps and be comfortable. You mentioned, not the fastest times we're seeing, but 108.13 for Kyle Gaspar is his best time, and a 108.76 on that last lap. So, I mean, still within a little over half a second of his best time. Still looking very, very strong all the way through. And as the laps die down, we're 4 laps to go now this time by, and it's just a case of making it to the finish, staying relaxed, and Gaspar is going to have a cool $8 in his pocket, plus the fastest lap bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that's kind of what I'm interested in seeing is whether or not that fastest lap bonus goes to the guy in first place. I would say most of the time it does, but there have absolutely been opportunities where what happens is, obviously, we're running these supercars. They are very, very fast. That puts an incredible amount of strain on the car, and especially the tire situation changes very dynamically as the race transpires. And so what you have happen a lot of times, if you got a guy like Diego Villarreal, right? He's 30 seconds back. Realistically, he's not going to be able to catch up in 3 laps. So what you do is you hit the pits, you get fresh tires, fresh everything, get back out on there, and you try to hit fastest lap, right? And it's not going to win you the race, but it is going to give you the opportunity to get that extra bonus from hitting the fast lap. We've actually seen it happen a couple of times already this season, so absolutely a viable strategy if you want to go for it, but it doesn't look like that's going to be what Diego Villarreal goes through this time. Near just a couple laps left in this race.
Yeah, 3 laps to go here, and I would say if we see anyone do that, it's going to be Zamperlini, just based on kind of where the gaps are starting to set up. If you look at our track map there on the top right, I mean, look at just how spread out Zamperlini is when compared to Villarreal behind or Scully in front. there's a lot of room there, and he does have room for a pit stop if he really wanted it, and pull out some extra points there. It's not unheard of to do that, I would say. We see it happen again in real life racing all the time. Drivers go, oh, well, I can't get the win, but I want the fastest lap. So they set up and do that. And just a few highlights here as we kind of look through, I believe, unless that was maybe just a quick moment there of showing off how he started.
Yeah. Okay, so this is back to live, and we're just seeing kind of a one at a time kind of trip. Although I will say that the distance between Scully and Gaspar is not nothing, right? And so for Scully, if something happens to Gaspar up at the front, he might have a chance to really get back in there. Looks like we have a quick little replay of the very beginning of the race. And here's the start.
It's interesting. Gaspar got away so much better than Scully in the beginning, and even Zamperlini got away better than Scully, I would argue. Even though Zamperlini didn't get past him, you can see there, Scully had to go very defensive very, very quickly, and that kind of set up that battle very early on for those two that we saw carry out there until that bit of, front-to-back contact going through turn 11 and 12 between them, and then they switch positions back, and then it's kind of just been a case of Zamperlini trying to chase, Scully just kind of running away with it. I don't think Zamperlini is carrying any damage, but it wouldn't surprise me if, there's maybe just a little bit that's impacting him. But his lap times are not that off compared to Manuel Scully's, Gaspar's, or Villarreal's. Like, they're all setting very similar lap times lap after lap. So I don't think it's a matter of damage. I think it's just a matter of maybe just some slight errors here and there that have just cost him. And as we go on, and Kyle Gaspar is about to bring us on the final lap read, drivers finishing how they started, and not always a bad thing, but good battling early on, and it's been just survival mode for Kyle Gaspar all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. He is definitely the apex predator as far as this race is concerned, although Scully is closing. Right, he is less and less, although now it's actually going up quite a little bit. But yeah, Kyle Gaspar is going to hit the white flag. We are on the last lap of our time here on the Sandown International Motor Speedway. There's a lot of words going on there. The home of horsepower. We are seeing it here in these Australian supercars. And for the final time, we are going to get our replay for this race. And let's see exactly what we're checking out here. Looks like we're hitting that drift again. Okay.
That is not how the supercars are meant to go. You're meant to go left and kind of hit an apex and exit out there. But I appreciate the effort here from Zamperlini to go through. Fabulous Fabio, always doing great things here. Now Gaspar is going to bring us around the final corner, and as Diego Villarreal is just starting his final lap, Kyle Gaspar will bring it around turns 11 and 12, hit turn 13, and Barney, our flagman, waving his arms as hard as he can, greets Kyle Gaspar with a checkered flag. And that, I believe, Reed, is the end of this round here. And then we are going to get ready for the paid tier coming up here in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of showboating there from Kyle Gaspar at the end. Very happy about his performance here on Sandown. He is in first place. Scully coming in right afterwards. Zamperlini in with the third checkered flag for our final podium. Some nice smoke out on the water, or on the track, I guess, as a few donuts come through by Kyle Gaspar, celebrating his victory as Diego Villarreal rounds 9 and heads through the final 3 turns before we hit the final checkered flag of the first race of the evening. A little bit of stock car action there as our racers become a little impatient. But as the final checkered flag comes through, 110 to finish Diego Villarreal race out here, which finishes him in 4th. It's absolutely not a bad finish at all. And that's sort of the moral victory, right? for the free race. Only 4 people. The least money you can make is $3. And he does hit that mark there with a 4th place finish to finish our time here today. We're practicing our rear view mirror, or alternatively, our observer is playing the race. Looks like it was the former, not the latter. That's going to do it for us today on Sundown in Australia. Our time down under is over. And here's a look at the race results standings. Kyle Gaspar, Manuel Scully, Fabio Zamperlini, and Diego Villarreal rounding out our podium.
Yeah, Reed, I would say that is kind of, summation there of how it was expected. Gaspar, of course, pulling out the fastest lap at the end as well with a 108.13, which he set early on. I think that was lap 3 he set that. And it just kind of stood all the way through. So, I mean, hey, that's a good way to end a good Australian showboat session with some supercars at the Sundown. And I think we're going to Japan next, if I remember right. Just up the globe a little bit, up the map a bit.
That's right. We are heading over a little bit to the left. Well, I guess it's left no matter which way you go. But we're going over to Japan. We're going to race some Toyotas. Brad, we are going to get out onto Tsukuba coming up next with some GR86s. So don't go anywhere if you're looking for more racing action. Stick around in about 30 minutes. We'll come back with that race. And if you'd like to join us, head over to amxrace.com. You can sign up and find out more information about Season 2. We got standings, we got high school, we got all the info you need over at amxrace.com. And keep in mind, the next 2 weeks, we are doubling the free tier prize pools. So it costs nothing to enter, and you can get out there and win twice as much money. So head on over to amxrace.com or hit us up on our socials, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, and all that good stuff right down below the screen. So we'll leave you guys to do your homework, and we'll be back in about 30 minutes with our second and final race of the day. Don't go anywhere.
Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and Eye Care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Break reminder and force break help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force break activates to rest your eyes. Eye Care U. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an Eye Care monitor and Eye Care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Break reminder and force break help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force break activates to rest your eyes. Eye Care U. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Break reminder and force break help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force break activates to rest your eyes. Eye care you. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Break reminder and force break help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force break activates to rest your eyes. Eye care you. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Break reminder and force break help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force break activates to rest your eyes. Eye care you. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Break reminder and force break help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force break activates to rest your eyes. Eye care you. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Break reminder and force break help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force break activates to rest your eyes. Eye care you. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Break reminder and force break help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force break activates to rest your eyes. Eye care you. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Break reminder and force break help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force break activates to rest your eyes. Eye care you. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope all of you are as excited as I am. Mere moments ago, I wasn't that excited, but I am excited for our next race coming up next, Brad. We're heading out to Japan. We're going to race some Japanese cars on a Japanese track. It is Toyota GR86s coming up on Tsukuba.
Yeah, Reed, welcome back. Hope you had a good rest there between sessions there. Of course, that's the fun with AMX. 2 sessions every day. Looking at Tsukuba, again, free track. Everyone should know it. And that's one of the fun things with AMX is we throw some free tracks, we throw some free cars, we throw some really, really competitive racers on. And Reed, it always produces a good time whenever you throw free on free, throw in a little bit of money at, really fast racers here through these tiers. Of course, this is paid tier 2. And then Reed, it just creates a good time.
It does. And you know what also creates a good time? Giving away tons of money. You can see paid tier 2 races cost $20 to enter, but the prize pool is massively inflated, $506 total dollars in there, and we're gonna give you $10 just for participating. So you're already getting half that back right out the get-go, and then of course the pricing is pretty deep on that. So I'm just saying your chances are good making your money back regardless of regardless of what the competition looks like. Here is a look at what I was talking about. It's actually $5 for participation, so don't mind me. But the fastest lap is $50. So wow, right? That's a lot. You should have the fastest lap be a 50. The 100 points for first, so that's a 5-times multiplier on your entry fee if you manage to win, as many of our racers have managed to win. And if you get everything, that's $155 maximum possible potential coming out of that $506 prize pool. So a lot of money on the line.
Yeah, lots of money getting thrown around here in AMX. And of course, you can look at who has won so far in paid tier 2. Cal Gaspar, $734 in tier 2 winnings. Victor Miranda, $594. Jackson Resende, $500 US. Gasaco Hobby, $485. And then you just had lots of money paid out so far. And of course, we're not even halfway through yet, so they've got till the end of the season, Reed, to keep racking in the earnings.
That's right. It doesn't stop here. We're not even halfway through, so that means that there are about 45, 50 more races coming your way. So a lot of racing action out there. And it's not just tracks like Tsukuba. We've got a wide variety of cars and tracks and various combinations of those this season. So got a little bit of something for everybody. That means that regardless of what your racing preferences are, there's something for you out there in AMX Season 2. And here's a look at our track today. It is a free track. It is a Tsukuba circuit. Break this track down for me, Brad.
Yeah, so Tsukuba circuit, 2.08 kilometers. We're running the 2000 full configuration. Of course, there's the 2000 and the 1000 configuration. They share, facilities, but it's completely separate tracks. 2000 full is what most iRacers are going to know. Set just outside of Tokyo, very close proximity, so it's super popular in Japan with car tuners for time attack competitions and different things. This is a track that every iRacer needs to have under their belt. They need to know this track very well. They need to be able to put in good times on it, regardless of what car they're in, because the key to understanding the track, you need to understand where the braking points are, where the apex is, how the track lays out. And what are we looking at today for the racing? It's the GR86. This is one of the newer cars in iRacing. It is a free Class D road car. So what that means is you do have to be past rookies, but they give you the car for free. This car starts out as a full production GR86 from Toyota. It's shipped out to North Carolina in the U.S. to their Gazoo Racing headquarters, and then it gets beefed up to the max. And I mean, for like $50,000, $60,000, you can have a race car on your hands that literally could be sold at a Toyota dealership near you. Super fun cars. It's meant to be for amateur racing, but throw some professionals at it, and it's going to be a great time.
Absolutely. And here's a look at our new promotion, which starts tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, depending on where you are in the world. 2 weeks of 2 times prize pool. If you guys are hesitant, you're like not sure if you want to get into racing competitively, here's a great opportunity to get involved, right? We're doubling prize pool for our free races. So you are literally winning or have the potential to win twice as much money. Now the prize pool isn't necessarily one-to-one doubled. We've actually made it even more accessible. So our top 10 racers are going to win money for a free race. So it doesn't cost you anything. Get out there, and we've got a lot of free cars and tracks paired up over the course of the next 2 weeks. So it's going to make it even easier for you to get out there get involved. And there's more ways to get involved and make use of some free races. You can sign up now and we give you a free Tier 1 race. So usually it costs $5 to enter a Tier 1 race. Now it's free. You can also invite a friend and then you both get a free Tier 1 race for free. And you can also earn points towards more races, whether it's Tier 1, Tier 2, all of the above. You can earn points by following us on social media and other things by heading on over to amxrace.com, and that'll let you sign up, let you get your loyalty points, let you cash in your free races, let you win your money. That's what we're all about here in this AMX. So double the points, tons of free races out there. AMX.com is the place to be. Sign up, get out there, and join us for today's races, tomorrow's races, or any of the other races left. We've got about 50 races left in AMX Season 2, so there's plenty of time to get out there and join us. So a lot of cool promotions out there, and so if you were hesitant before, there's no more reason for you to wait. Get out there and join us today. And this is a look at what we're looking at for today's second race, and it's going to be about 1 minute around Tsukuba. And Fabio Zamperlini, Caio Gaspar, Gaston Clavi, and Jackson Resende. From some new faces, and this is what the placements look like with Zamperlini coming out with the hot time through our practice round.
Yeah, good competitive times being shown early on here through the practice session here in the GR86s. And this is a car and a track that I have a feeling every one of these drivers know like the absolute back of their hands here. And as we set up into qualifying, I think we're going to just see our drivers continue to just put lap after lap after lap after lap and kind of go through. We can see here we are riding on board with the driver of Caio Gaspar. You can see he does not want to wait behind anyone. He does not want to be the third or the fourth person across the line. He wants to go through quick. He's right on the rear end of Fabio Zamperlini here in that gorgeous 86 livery that he always runs. And now this is where the sausage gets made. It took quote the Broadway musical Hamilton, or where the drivers earn the big bucks. This is where we're going to start seeing our qualifying times go in, and it's going to be a real quick 10-minute qualifying session here. And I just guess these drivers are going to continue to run behind and around each other as we go through here early on. It is, of course, just a quick 9-turn circuit. Nice 180 right-hander for turn 1. A little bit of a kink for turns 2 and 3. This is, of course, a cambered left-hander, turn 4. Nice left-hand through. And then you hit turn 5, 90 degrees here. Ride the curb, ride to the exit curb, go underneath the tire there. Turn 6, a nice gentle left-hander, flows into turn 7 here. It's just a little bit of a kink, and now a nice cambered 90-degree right-hander. Turn 8, and now it is a long kind of backstretch section here, and then a long sweeping flat right-hander for turn 9, and then that kicks you right out onto the main straight here. And for these drivers, it's a little bit of braking into turn 9. Kind of hold on to it. You're going to want to tuck in a bit to the right. You can see slightly different lines between Zamperlini and Gaspar here. Zamperlini apex is a bit later than Gaspar. Not a bad thing to do. And then flat to the line, Zamperlini immediately pulls off to the side there. Gaspar is going to keep going for a bit. That is Kulhavi showing off what the GR86 is known for, which is drifting. And it looks like all of our drivers are going to reset, get a fresh set of tires on, and then go right back out again to do the process over and over again for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, great breakdown there, Brad. Basically, you got 3 main characteristics, right? You got 90 to 90 to 90, so some really sharp turns into each other, and then the back stretch is, of course, I guess fairly comparable. Any other tracks, just a long back straightaway. What I really like most about Tsukuba, beyond its classic time attack feel, is that you got the long back straightaway, and then you have a little bit of a straightaway through the finish line, right, as you are wont to see. But it's connected by this sort of like easy right-hand turn, right, as you're coming around through it. So that means that you can actually carry quite a bit of your speed from that back straightaway into the next stretch around a little bit more of a gradual curve. Because coming up after that are these 3 really, really sharp curves. And so it's a different feel on each one of them. For the first one, you're going from a straightaway through the finish line into a little bit of S's section after that. Then you're coming around the next 180 into a really big S section, what some people would just call it a curve, right? And then the next one, you're going from that curve around a 180 that's heavily cambered into the big straightaway. So each one of these really slows you down, and you have to prep for the next section because it always looks a little bit different. So really great track, very iconic. It's been in just about every racing game ever made. So no matter when or where you have played this, anybody who's ever gotten out and raced on any sort of sim or arcade racing game knows what Tsukuba is all about. And it appears as if all of our drivers are also very well appraised about what Tsukuba is all about, because they're all posting up incredibly similar competitive times. So we might just be shaping up for a pretty close race here today, Brad.
Yeah, all four of these drivers are within 0.2 of a second of each other, and for a track this short, that is very impressive. This track is just about a mile and change long, of course, just over 2 kilometers. So for a track this short to be this competitive on time really shows that knowledge base all of these drivers have. I mean, you can look up tutorial after tutorial for track map guides for Tsukuba, and you're going to find everything from the MX-5 Miata, which is what every rookie driver knows this track for. Every rookie driver, when you're working your way up through road courses, you have to know how to drive this car, or drive this track on a Mazda Miata. Jackson Resende obviously knows how to do car control, the GR86 with that save. Very, very smooth driving from Resende there at the moment. Maybe not so fabulous from Zamperlini there in the wall off the main straight, but can't discount him for it. Going back to my thought though, like MX-5 Miatas, you learn how to drive Tsukuba there. Spec Fords, you learn how to drive those. Porsche 911 GT3s, 992s, you know how to drive those on Tsukuba. F1 cars, you can run those at Tsukuba. Corvette C6s, you can run those at Tsukuba. So you can literally run any car your heart desires in iRacing at Tsukuba, and it's something that you probably need to have a little bit of knowledge on, because you're going to see it at some point, whether it's here at AMX, in an official iRacing session, or again, time trial attacks just for fun. It's something that I think everyone needs to know, and obviously all of our racers have a lot of knowledge with this track.
That can actually be one of the most challenging parts of racing in AMX Season 2. So I'm glad you mentioned it, Brad, is the idea that every single day, the cars and tracks are a little bit different. We do have repeats, we do have some overlaps, we do have some different combinations, but by and large, on the day, you're going to see some very different tracks and cars and combinations of the two. So really, it's not just are you really good at racing, it's really are you good at racing everything, everywhere, all at once, to quote the title. The idea is that you have to take a lot of different aspects into consideration, not just the racetrack, but how the different cars handle. We've got cars with, without ABS, traction control. Are they fast? Are they slow? What era? We have Formula Vs all the way up to the craziest supercars. So there's a lot out there for us to race. And I'm actually really happy that we see this specific combination, because that means that we are, I don't think I've seen this one yet. Actually, maybe we did have it earlier. No, I tell a lie. But anyway, it is going to be a little bit more iconic, a little bit more, I guess, accessible. So it's going to be exciting to see what our racers can do when they are very comfortable with the cars and the track. Driver to watch there, Jackson Resende, of course, 6th overall, but he still made a ton of money this season. So that should tell you, especially with double money promotion coming up starting next race day, tomorrow, there's a lot of money out there on the line. So nice highlights of our racers doing quite well, although I guess that could probably be said for almost everybody competing this season. Although for Calabi and Gaspar, they are currently in the lead, although just barely by hundredths of a second.
Yeah, Calabi and Gaspar and Resende even. Throw Resende in the mix, because he is less than 2/100ths of a second off of Kyle Gaspar, showing great track knowledge, just great car control here and flying through. You set yourself double money promotion coming up. Like, who doesn't want to take advantage of making more money? And I feel like I say this every Saturday night, every Tuesday night. if I wasn't commentating, I'd be driving. And we see Kohlhavi here hitting the brakes real hard in the backstretch and going off the track, calling it there. Kohlhavi currently holding on by 4/100ths of a second to his pole position. Less than a minute left to go here. He might have enough time to kind of get around the track and go back out. We'll have to wait and see. 45 seconds left to go here in qualifying, Reed. And at the moment we see it is, I believe that is Resende and Zamperlini following each other around here. Or, no, sorry, that's the Monster livery. That's Gaspar and Zamperlini following each other around. And we'll see if they have enough time to kind of find any improvements.
Yeah, that's right. This track is about a minute to complete. Fast times take it under a minute to like 55s. So definitely some room for improvement for our racers today. You can really see that they're kind of still feeling themselves out here. And with such close qualifiers, this actually should be a very competitive race. So currently Kohlhavi is sitting in front with that 102. And as we watch, Zamperlini here and friends finish their final lap of qualifiers, they will have a chance to run it back through the checkered flag. And we'll see what the final standings look like, because when they're this close, everything can change. So here they are coming back through the back stretch, and then they'll be coming around all the way through the final. And that will set us up for seeing what their final times look like. Although without much improvement through the first two sections, it's likely going to be a relatively similar standings to the ones you see on here.
Yeah, going through third sector there, Gaspar and Zamperlini setting personal best sectors, but they were both down in the first and second. That is Gaspar with a little bit of a slide there, going through turn 9, and now as they come out of the final corner, Gaspar not improving there. Zamperlini able to nab the second spot right at the end, less than a tenth of a second, only about 100th of a second off of Gaston Kohlhavi's time, which is not a bad place to be at all there. So the three Brazilians, and I wish I hadn't said that because I don't remember the country Gaston Kohlhavi's from. But Argentina, there we go. I thought so, but I didn't want to say it and be wrong. So three Brazilians and an Argentinian go together on the Tsukuba circuit. And as we see, the Argentinian of Gaston Kohlhavi sets himself up for pole position here. It is a standing start, I believe, if I remember correctly, for the session info. And 20 laps coming at us for four drivers that are very, very competitive in times. Reed, I think we are in for some good action here with these Japanese cars, the Japanese circuit.
Absolutely, Brad, I couldn't have said it better. So I'm just going to let you, every time we come to a poignant moment, I'm going to pass it over to you so I can hear how it's supposed to be said. Much like I'm going to pass things over to our drivers when it comes to how this track is supposed to be driven. I imagine if we go out there, maybe we can technically maybe find some drivers who are better, but we might have to look for a while, because absolutely we're running some very, very fast cars and drivers respectively. Kyle Gaspar getting the third highest standing through qualifiers really doesn't tell the whole story. He's one of the deadliest drivers to have in AMX, and with all of our drivers being separated by just hundredths of a second, really anything can happen. However, it does sort of set the tone for at least the beginning of the race. Well, we do have 20 laps out there today, so anything can happen. Although I would say I'm most impressed by Zamperlini, able to kind of squeeze all the way out 2 placements just by hitting a couple of hundredths of a second faster final qualifying lap time. So really kind of squeezing in there means that a lot can happen, anything can change, and really only hundredths of a second are going to separate at least the start of this race. We'll see if it stays that way over the course of the finish line as well. It is a standing start, Brad. That means that we are off for the start of our second and final race of the day on this circuit.
Yeah, going into turn 1 here, and Gaston Kohlhavi dismal takeoff there, and Gaston Kohlhavi dropping into 4th place very quickly here. He's trying to battle back against Gaspar, but I don't think he's going to be able to as we run through turn 4, as Kohlhavi is on the outside there. Then they settle up fabulous Fabio Zamperlini finds himself early on in the lead here. Jackson Resende P2, Kyle Gaspar P3, Gaston Kohlhavi P4. Resende, of course, being able to get up a couple of places there to P2. Zamperlini, of course, finding himself a position there, getting into the lead. And now, as we continue to watch through, you can see Zamperlini kind of going a bit defensive on the backstretch. Maybe unneeded with these cars in this track. Not a horrible decision. And now, as we run through, he's going to come around this final turn 9. You can see the difference in line there. Zamperlini and Resende apexing very early. Kyle Gaspar takes a much later entry into the corner, much later apex. You can see the difference on exit with how Zamperlini and Resende run a bit wider there, taking all the advantage of the runoff that they can. Gaspar being able to get a little bit tighter of a line on exit, go a little bit straighter here. And now, as the drivers kind of run through again, turn 1, and Reed, we settle in. It was a horrible start for Gaston Kohlhavi after a great qualifying time, and Kohlhavi has a lot of work to do to try to claw his way forward throughout the next 18 laps of this race.
Yeah, absolutely, Brad. That's a real tragedy for Kohlhavi. He drops down 3 spots, and Zamperlini, who squeezed his way into that second starting spot, now finds himself in first and holding on to a 1.2 second lead. He's going to be feeling good about that.
Yeah, he's going to be feeling real good early on here for Zamperlini as he just kind of settles in. He's going to be driving, just hitting his marks. For him, it's not so much going to be about looking behind as it is just kind of going through. Jackson Resende is going to be trying to look behind a bit, though. You can see Gaspar kind of closing the gap here and there, getting it down to about 0.4 of a second as he can. So Resende's going to have to drive a little bit defensive, but for Zamperlini, it really is just going to be a case of hit your marks, drive your lines, and be comfortable for the remaining 18 laps of this race. Settle things in and just keep going through. And it ties back in a lot to that mindset thing we talked about with the difference in real life racing and sim racing, and being able to get in that right mindset right now for Zamperlini is going to be very, very important if he wants to try to hold off Jackson Resende behind.
Yeah, a little bit of defense and offense here, so a lot to pay attention to. Kind of racing against multiple things, right? Yourself, your opponents, and the track. So very, very difficult in some stretches, but as we suspected over the course of our qualifiers, Brad, still very, very close here, just about half a second separating each one of our racers as they continue to post up relatively comparable times to the qualifiers that we saw, which means that all of them are really able to race the race that they set out to, right? They showed us what they had in qualifiers. They're continuing to execute on that every single time. So I'm really, the big mystery, and we talked about it earlier, Brad, has been Jackson Kohlhavi. What happened there at the start? We're going to get a chance to head through a replay and see exactly what that looks like as he's just unable to get the speed he needs, just seemingly slower.
Yeah, there was a bit of wheel spin there off the start, and that's one of those things as racers, you know, rolling starts are one thing because you're already moving. You've just got to be up in the revs and punch the pedal to the metal and shift. Standing starts are a whole different thing. You have to know how to balance the clutch to the throttle to the brake, not wheel spin, being able to get off the line well. And it looks like for Gaston Kohlhavi, that was a weak point for him. And it just unfortunately cost him, you know, from first to last place here in this 4-car grid. But ultimately in Tier 2, the stakes are much larger for the drivers. And the difference between first and fourth is very, very significant, especially when you look at points payouts. But Kohlhavi's doing well to kind of keep himself in the mix here with the front runners. He just needs to find a little bit of an opportunity to try to stick his nose up there against Gaspar and do the same thing with Resende. And then it's not impossible for Gaston Kohlhavi to fight his way back to the front, Reed. I think it's just a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, we totally agree, Brad. I think the biggest thing to watch out for is not just Kohlhavi and his battle to claim his starting position, but also who chokes first, right? It's 20 laps. It's going to be a race about consistency. When you have all racers as equally balanced, as equally skilled as we have in this race, it's not just you're racing against your opponents. It's like you have to deliver as consistently as possible, because absolutely anybody could win the race for this, right? There's nobody who's having too difficult a time. Resende's back the furthest of his competitor in that battle for first, as we just saw in that overlay on your screen, but even he narrows it from as much as 0.8 of a second all the way back down to 2, right? So there's a ton of flexibility, especially because this race is punctuated by these sharp 180 turns. And yeah, there's a camber so you can carry some of that speed. Yeah, there's straightaways so you can really let it pull out. But by and large, you're going to be staying close because there are these big slowdowns for those 180s. And so if things are going to be staying this close, you're really going to have to watch out not only for yourself and your own ability to hit your consistency, but also who is looking to get that overtake on, because when everybody is this compact, this close together, they're always looking for a chance.
Yeah, and all of these drivers are racing drivers. They all have the same racecraft knowledge. They all are very skilled in what they do, which is why their times are so close. It's why they're currently running as a 4-car pack that's separated out by less than 2 seconds between the 4 of them. And it's what makes them so great to, sit back and watch for 20 laps. But again, it's one of those who's going to blink first, who's going to make an error. And when you have all of these deep braking zones and these exits, 3 of them, for these 180s, it really is a case of which driver is going to make the error first. Is it going to be Zamperlini? Is he going to accidentally get a little bit too much curb through? We saw every one of the drivers in practice and qualifying going through turns 1 or turns 4 or turn 8, getting a little bit too much curb and spinning the car. I mean, heck, I've done it a dozen times myself in rookie races. Accidentally get a little bit too much curb and spin it out here. And now you can see Resende putting a lot of pressure on Zamperlini. He had a good run down the backstretch there, a great exit out of 8 that carried him all the way through 9. And now you can see just about a 1/10 of a second. And look at that. Resende wanted to dive up the inside, try to do a late break there. And Zamperlini just shut the door. Resende had to get a bit deep on the brakes. And he is all over the back of that GR86. And now as they run into turn 4, a bit of an unconventional zone. You can make opportunities happen here. He's going to go a bit wide. Resende has to check up to make sure he doesn't spin out Zamperlini, and picks up a bit there. So Resende putting the pressure on Zamperlini, and Zamperlini is not folding the whole time through. Little bit of a slip there from Resende, so he's going to fall back a little bit. But Resende, very, very brave on the brakes here, Reed, and very, very willing to try to put that front end of that Toyota where he needs it to be to try to make a move done.
I cannot believe that we are this close and haven't seen any sort of contact, Brad. It is so neck and neck. It is just, the more you look out the rearview mirror here from the back cam on Zamperlini, the more you get an idea for just how cutthroat this race is. Jackson Resende is looking for absolutely any opportunity to come around to get that overtake happening, but it's just not possible. And you can see he's not executing up, right? He's getting a lot of value off the drafting, sticking right behind Zamperlini, and looking for the slingshot effects around one of these curves, but they're all so sharp that it can be really difficult to make that happen unless you hit the inside. So I'm not sure where the best possible opportunity comes. It might be when you're coming through the back stretch into T9, but sooner or later it's going to happen. And it's all about that execution. So let's see when Resende wants to go for it. Now, let's not forget that Gaspar and Calabi are just as close, just as hot on each other's heels, coming through what looks to be turn 9 right about now.
Yeah, so whatever Resende does here, Reed, Resende has to make it stick, because here's the problem. Resende goes for a move a little too late, a little too off. Zamperlini closes the door. Resende has to back off. He has Kyle Gaspar right on his rear end looking for a move as well, because he wants a move. And there is the error from Jackson Resende, trying to do a deep break into turn 1, doesn't make it stick, loses the rear end, and there is where your errors can occur. Jackson Resende with a fatal error here. Kyle Gaspar and Gaston Kulhavy are going to say, thank you very much, Jackson. Back to P4, you're relegated where you started. And now Fabio Zamperlini can breathe a little bit easier because that car in the middle is gone. Gaspar and Kulhavy had to check up. And now Resende is just going to be kicking himself. He had a move set up. He was trying. And I think we'll see this AMX replay here. I think it was just he tried to take a little bit too aggressive of a line. The rear tires didn't want to stick with it. And what defensive driving from Gaspar and Kohlhavi to miss that read. You see them just completely hook the wheels to the left and then come back around to the right just to avoid that. But that's going to cost them in their chase for Zamperlini.
Yeah, dodging a huge landmine there. Resende all of a sudden just really exploding that part of the track, creating a big zone of control. They dodged it expertly, and now it's truly their battle, right? Zamperlini's breathing a little bit more easily now that he doesn't have to worry about somebody close on his heels. Gaspar Kohlhavi still fighting for that second place spot. The battle for second going to be probably the hottest point of this race for the next few laps, and we are over our halfway point here, Brad, so it is going to be even more competitive. The pressure is on after what was an incredibly competitive, very, very high octane start to the race. It's going to even out a little bit here for everybody except Gaspar and Kohlhavi. They're still right on each other's heels, and we could absolutely see the same situation repeat itself all over again if that overtake that Kohlhavi is going to be looking for here in just mere seconds goes the same way previously. You cannot get too greedy. You cannot get too ahead of yourselves. You take too sharp a turn, you're going to spin out like we just saw, and that is basically the race done for Resende unless tragedy strikes our second and third place racer.
Yeah, Resende, very unfortunate for that. I mean, he was looking super good, and it's just one small error costing him the race. And unfortunately, with 20-lap races, it's hard to come back from that. But watch Gaspar, because here's the thing I've noticed. So the gap was 1.8 seconds, right? And now that gap is 1.3. So Gaspar and Kohlhavi are doing very, very well to keep touch with each other and push just enough to try to take out some time from Zamperlini. They're running about 0.2 faster than Fabio Zamperlini did last lap. So they have a bit more time there. And the thing is, if they keep just going a little bit faster than Zamperlini is, I think Zamperlini is trying to drive a little bit off of his limits, try to play it a little safe because he doesn't want to, make any errors. But if Gaspar and Kohlhavi push just that little bit and they keep going, they can catch Zamperlini and put pressure on Zamperlini again before the end of this race, even though we've got just under 7 laps to go.
Yep, just under 7, and the times are relatively unchanged. About a second between first and a second through between first and second. And why did we choose in the English language to make the word for the person behind first and the smallest unit of time measurement the same word? That is really not helping me out right now, Brad. I don't mind telling you that. Half of a second between second and third separates Gaston Kohlhavi and Caio Gaspar. So absolutely the closest part. We continue to see it closer and closer coming around that long turn 9 into the front stretch through the finish line. And we're going to have to see it, Brad. It's going to have to happen sooner or later. Kohlhavi speeding up, closing that distance, and looking for a very similar attack angle as we saw earlier that did not work out for Resende. So danger still there. And something tells me, Brad, that we may not see this standings persist all the way through into the checkered flag. I think we're going to see a move be made here pretty soon by Jackson Kohlhavi, who has closed that gap from 6-7 tenths of a second now all the way down to 3.5.
Yeah, a little bit of an error there from Gaspar through turn 6 and 7. I don't know if you caught that, but he ran a bit wide on the exit of 5 and had to compromise his line a bit. That allowed Kohlhavi to gain just a little bit more time. And as we watch these sector times, I mean, Kohlhavi, just every sector is faster than Gaspar, and both Kohlhavi and Gaspar are just constantly faster than Fabio Zamperlini. So if we had like 5 more laps on this race, we would see very, very tight action in the end. At the moment, Kohlhavi is starting to put a bit more in the gas tank. He's starting to put a bit more in, and he's really starting to fight against Gaspar. Gaspar, again, a little bit wider of a line there through turn 1, and that's allowing Kohlhavi to close the gap. The gap now under 3 tenths here. Jackson Resende into the pit lane, and I have a feeling that he is taking a fresh set of tires. He is going to go in, fresh tires out, will probably try to nab that fastest lap that's currently held by Fabio Zamperlini. But we'll see how that works for him. I'm still keeping my eyes on these second and third place runners, though, as you know, we're down to 5 laps to go here, Reed, and you keep saying it, a move needs to happen, and if it's going to happen, it needs to happen now. And I'm curious to see what Kulhavy has kept in the tank to try to push against Gaspar to the end.
I hope it's gas, Brad. I hope he has gas in the tank. He's going to need it, and also a pedal that when he pushes it causes him to use that gas to go faster. Those are the two components. If I were Professor X and I was making a Powerpuff Girl that needed to get into that second place spot in the race, those would be the secret ingredients. But he does definitely need a Chemical X to make this overtake happen. You can see he is chewing up that back end of Gaspar, going a little bit wide there, but he's keeping it absolutely as close as possible. Something must have happened to Resende way back in the back, as he is now a lap back. But the biggest thing to watch is just going to be that overtake. When's it going to happen? We got 3.5 laps left to go, and Gaspar has got to be sweating a little bit. Not only is he just trying to be as consistent as possible, but he has to do it with knowing that Kulhavy is looking for any small, tiny mistake to get that overtake and steal away a hefty chunk of the prize pool, like $20 between each break point here at the upper end of the spectrum. So there is a lot of money on the line. I think if you hit everything, fastest lap, first place participation points, $155 maximum possible prize winnings from one tier 2 race. So a lot on the line. Gaspar feels it, Levy feels it, and he is going to be looking for that opportunity here in the next 3 laps.
Yeah, that last lap, Gaspar outbraked himself into turn 1, lost a little bit of rear end traction, and that is why we saw Kulhavy literally inside the rear bumper on your screen there for a second. That was an interesting view from the iRacing cameras, and I can't imagine that would work out in real life, but it shows just one small error can affect everything here. And as we watch, now look at the gap too between Zamperlini and Gaspar. That gap is half a second, and now Zamperlini is back to feeling the pressure. 3 laps to go. I still don't think that this grid is going to stick. Only thing that won't change is Jackson Resende back at P4. He pit, took fresh tires, and I think he's going to kind of lay back a bit, try to just hang out with the pack, probably try to go for a fastest lap here as well, which it looks like at the moment he still has not nabbed. He's trying, but he's about half a second too slow to nab that lap. But as we watch here, we're through turn 1 again. Drivers are clean. Now we're through turns 2, 3, coming up to the left-hander 4, and you can set up a move into turn 4. You can try to set up an outside move that gives you the inside to turn 5 if you run it right. I'm curious to see if Kulhavy or Gaspar try to do something like that, or if they're going to try to go for a run down the backstretch and through the long turn 9, which is at the bottom of the track map on your screen. But as we see, you know, these 3 drivers are just absolutely together. And now Jackson Resende getting a bit of a send on Kulhavy in the background, but I don't think anything's going to come out of that. Resende just kind of backing out. He knows he's a lap down. He doesn't want to mess with this lead pack battle. I think he really just wanted to have a good view in the back so he could just enjoy the fireworks as we come down on 2 laps to go this time by.
You know, Brad, if you turned off the scoreboard, you might just think nothing happened this race, right? It's been so close at the beginning, and now with that pit causing Resende to be a lap back, it's just, oh my God, there it is! We were waiting for it. Zamperlini spinning way out, and he is going to be out of contention. Also, a move at the front of the pack as well as Gaspar gets passed up. It's Gaspar, Kulhavy, 0.1 of a second. Who is going to come out of this defensive driving with the squirt right in front is Gaspar, desperately trying to hang on through our final lap of the race. It is lap 19. We are coming up on the white flag, but finishing out this 19th lap is going to be even more difficult as we come into the back stretch. Gaspar, Levy, everything switching it up, and Zamperlini actually tragically spinning out there and losing control over what could have absolutely been a first place finish.
Bit of cheeky swerving there between Gaspar and Kohlhavi. Look at this, Kohlhavi up the inside, Gaspar on the outside, side by side, exiting turn 9. And there we go, side by side down the main straight. It's going to be into turn 1. Kohlhavi is going to be on the inside line. That's the preferred line. You see Gaspar braking a bit early. He's going to try to switch back, do a bit of a compromised line to try to get a better exit. He can't get it through, and as we take the white flag, this race just erupts. Reed Zamperlini with a big error into turn 1, absolutely loses it. That set things up for Kohlhavi and Gaspar. That battle finally happening. It's been brewing for 19 laps, and on the 20th lap, Kohlhavi, who started in first, fell to last place before we could even hit turn 1, has now found his way back up into the lead. I couldn't write a better fairy tale story myself. And now as the drivers come through turn 8 and we go down to the backstretch, it is one last dance here, one last chance for Gaspar to try to get this move done. He started P3, can he get P1, or is the Argentinian who started on pole and has been fighting all race to come up gonna keep it? We're coming around the final corner. I think it's too little too late for Gaspar, and Gaston Kohlhavi comes across the line and he holds on P1 with an absolute storybook move there. You can see how Jackson Resende feels about that race as he just takes the car out. And Gaspar and Zamperlini will be furious. Kohlhavi will be ecstatic. I feel like that's a quote from a real Formula One race somewhere, and I know it is. Someone can tell me what race it is because I don't remember. That was a stellar race, and we're going to get a replay of Zamperlini here in a second just to see what happened. And it's just turn 1, the dangerous turn 1 at Tsukuba. He comes in a little bit hot, and again, look at the defensive move that Kyle Gaspar had to do there, and that just opened the door for Kohlhavi. Kohlhavi had a little bit more notice, and now side-by-side racing all the way down into turn 4. On the outside is Kohlhavi, on the inside is Gaspar. Gaspar is able to set the inside up, but the switchback coming from Kohlhavi, and he just set that up for the remainder of the lap. And if we follow this all the way through, you see him get the pass done down the back straight into turn 9. He's able to hold on to it. Reed, that was worth the long wait. That was stellar.
I mean, we knew it was going to happen, Brad. The race has been so close all race long. The opening section, the tension was building, and then it explodes. Same thing sets up once again, and we just delivers over and over and over. An incredible track that you could tell all of our racers had a ton of experience on. It let them race their best races there, and it turns out that when everybody is doing their best, it can't last for long. You saw some incredible battles, the overtakes, the unfortunate accidents that happened just from these racers pushing themselves to the absolute limit. Leads to our final standings that you saw on our screen. What an incredible day of racing, Brad. Gaston Kohlhavi in first place, fighting back there. Guys like Fabio Zamperlini almost taking that first spot, but then having, overreaching a little bit, flew too close to the sun, dropping back to third. And then Jackson Resende, he pitted, he tried to come back for a fastest lap, but he actually rejoined the pack. It's kind of not how you want to do that. You want to give yourself a lot of room to work with so that you can just pedal to the metal all alone, try to get that fastest lap. Unable to do so, finishes in fourth, but still, fourth place finish, absolutely respectable in a tier 2 race. Still gonna put you in the money.
Absolutely. This is one of those races, if you just look at the scoreboard, I mean, the scoreboard does not tell the full story in the least. You really have to watch this race from lap 1 to lap 20, the checkered flag dropping, to really understand what happened. That was truly an exciting race. And Reed, it's the type of things you only get in AMX when you throw some money on the line. And I can't wait to come back and do it again.
And I can't wait to come back and do it again with you and with all of our other viewers. So a big thanks, of course, to whoever was out there watching. We appreciate you. Hope to see you back here again for even more AMX action. We got 3 more race days this week. And of course, we're doing it again and again. And of course, for the next 2 weeks, we have double your prize money. So if you want to get in on the action for free, you can join any of our free tier races, and we are doubling the prize money for those races. So instead of $30 on the line, $60 on the line. And all you have to do is go to amxrace.com, sign up. If you need some more information or some walkthroughs or step-by-step instructions, hit us up on our social media, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and we have a Discord as well. If you want some real human interaction, head on over to our Discord, and if you have any issues, we'll be there to help you out. So, an absolutely incredible day of races as per usual, Brad. So very excited to have you along with me. And so on behalf of Brad, our production team behind the scenes, our racers, and everybody out there watching, I want to thank everybody for being here with us today. We hope to see you back here again tomorrow. Even more iRacing action, AMX Global Season 2.